So just in case you didn't know, it helps to be good in December if you're a team looking to get into the playoffs. Take a look at a few of the teams on hot streaks right now. The Chargers winning 10 straight. They own the second seed in the AFC. The Eagles with 6 straight wins can get the number 2 spot in the NFC with a win Sunday against the Cowboys. Patriots and Texans also winning 3 straight. It is time now for our Insider segment. We bring in Steve Wyche, Vic Carucci, and Michael Lombardi. You guys, so you see a couple teams on hot streaks. Which teams do you think are peaking at the right time? Vic, I'll start with you.
I'm going to go with the Green Bay Packers. The fact that they've won 4 of their last 5 games, I think, is a great indication of where they are as a club. They've really come together. Aaron Rodgers playing lights-out football. And the fact that after that devastating loss at Pittsburgh, what could have been very crushing to them emotionally to lose in the last seconds, they bounced right back with a huge win over Seattle. And that tells me how focused they are. Mike McCarthy has this team in a good place, and I really like the transition that they've made defensively, going from the 4-3 to the 3-4 successfully. Dom Capers has these guys, I think, believing in how to play defense, that style, the conversions of positions that have been made. A lot of this has worked out well, despite losing a couple of key players like Al Harris and Aaron Campman. I think the reserves have stepped up in a big, big way. I think this team is ready for the postseason.
Well, good call, Vic, but I tell you what, I'm going to go to a team where there's a lot more known than the unknown. I think the New England Patriots right now are a very dangerous team. You know, Randy Moss getting sent home with a couple other players from practice, someone calling him a quitter. They've got a little controversy stirring the blood going on, and we saw how that made them feel when they came out and they pounded Jacksonville last week. This is a very dangerous team, and I think anybody who has to face New England is kind of wary because they know what the Patriots can do. There's no mysteries as to what Tom Brady and Randy Moss and Wes Welker have going on there offensively. There are some concerns on defense, but I think the experience and the professionalism and the cutthroatism, you like that one, Michael Lombardi, of the New England Patriots make them a really dangerous team.
I love it, Steve. I love it. I tell you what. Now, I'm going to give the kiss of death to a team because ultimately, you know, I'm one of the Dallas Cowboys are peaking at the right time. Even when the Dallas Cowboys lost for the first 2 games of the month of December, everybody was, whoa. But it might have been the best 2 games they played all year. The Giants game, they dominated. Now, they didn't make any plays, but they were dominating in the game. But they obviously can handle it. And I think the way they're playing in terms of Tony Romo and defensively, I think with Anthony Spencer's emergence as a defensive end, I think obviously DeMarcus Ware, and then my man Jay Ratliff, they have 3 blue-chip defensive linemen. And the offense, Tony Romo's protecting the ball. I like Dallas. I don't want to jinx them, but I like Dallas.
Mike, I think you jinxed them. And I love the word cutthroatism, by the way, Steve. But I think as it applies to the Cowboys, this is a butter knife, not a real sharp one. Winning 2 in a row, yeah, impressive. And they did look like a different team against the Saints. But I still have my issues with whether this team can sustain it. The Philadelphia game is going to be a real test on that count. I think the Cowboy team playing better, but I'm not convinced that they're playing as well as, you know, these other teams that we talk about peaking at this time.
Let's talk about 2 teams seemingly going in opposite directions, you guys. The Vikings have lost 3 of their last 4. The Saints have lost their last 2. Steve, which team are you more concerned about as we head into the playoffs?
Well, I went back and forth on this one, Alex, because to me, neither one of them is playing very well. But I think when it comes to playoff football, the Minnesota Vikings, for a couple of reasons. One, they have not secured home field, and all 4 of their losses have come outside of Minnesota. So they're walking kind of a thin line, and they better hope they don't drop to that number 4 seed. Secondly, I do not like the way their offensive line is playing. They're allowing pass pressure on Favre, especially from around those tackles. But the biggest concern has got to be at some points on defense. The middle of that defense, the rookie linebacker Jasper Brinkley, you saw Jake Cutler and the Bears find him, expose him in pass coverage. Their safeties have been a problem all year. I think Mike and Vic, you both alluded to that. And Antoine Winfield, ever since he's come back from that foot injury, he does not look good in pass coverage. And looking at the teams they might have to play, Arizona, New Orleans, Dallas, teams like that, those are teams that can expose those weaknesses. So I think the Vikings right now are a team that really needs to earn that bye to regroup, and right now they're in danger of missing out on that.
Well, Steve, all great points about the Vikings. Hard to dispute that, and they should have some concern. But I'm going to go with the Saints on this one. I think they're the team that seems to have more or shaken confidence. After that loss to Dallas, I don't think they've been the same. Clearly, they showed that against Tampa Bay a week later. I think that game really cut to the core. This team saw itself going through a perfect season, and that rattled them in a big, big way. And I think as I look at the psychology of this team, that concerns me more than anything else. This is still new territory to them to be this good this late in the year, and they might be realizing that maybe this isn't really them, and they just seem to, maybe their identity is fluctuating a little bit on the confidence or whatever you want to call it. And from Minnesota's standpoint, that second half against Chicago where they really turned it on showed me a lot in the cold weather and so forth. I think that's closer to the way the Vikings can play. Yeah, they got some issues that can't be ignored, but I think they've been a flat team since they won that division, backed into that division after Green Bay's loss to Pittsburgh.
Vic, I gotta disagree with you. When you give up 37 points to the Chicago Bears, Vic, the Chicago Bears offense, they can't block anybody. They get everybody's looking forward to playing them, and the Vikings gave up 37, couldn't slow them down outside. I'm with Steve on this one. Steve, I'm shocked you didn't pick the Rams in this category, but that's a story for another day. I think the Vikings clearly are a team that are not peaking at the right time. Offensively, look, everybody's going to quote Brett Favre. He's what, 2-7 in the last 2 years. In the month of December. I don't think this is Brett Favre's fault. I think it's the Minnesota Vikings defensive problem. If Jared Allen can't rush the passer, that secondary is vulnerable, and we saw it with Nate Clemens getting beat vertically. Antoine Winfield, getting beat vertically up the field. His speed seems certainly suspect against receivers that nobody would believe are household names. And when they play the Arizonas or the New Orleans Saints with those receiver groups, I just don't see how they hold up. I know the Saints are struggling, but I think the Saints are more like the Arizona Cardinals. I think they're going to turn it on, and especially when they get some players back health-wise to make them better. So for me, it's the Minnesota Vikings. And like you, Vic, if they go outside, Steve, if they go outside in the cold weather, I don't like them at all.
Hey, by the way, Mike, did you get that Steven Jackson jersey I sent you for Christmas?
Got it. Autographed, too, my man.
Sweet. I'm going to take care of you, my man. Hey, good.
I knew that MVP vote was going in his direction. There's no way.
I wish I had one. Couple quick points, too. I've covered the Saints a lot this year, and, the one thing I kind of saw, the more games they won, they got wound a little tight. I really think, as you pointed out, Vic, that they wanted to go undefeated, and they started really harping on that. I think these two losses will give them the reality check that they need to kind of regroup and say, you know what, as Michael, as you alluded to, like Arizona did last year, let's go out and play football. I expect them to make a strong push because I don't see a lot of schematic deficiencies. I don't see a lot of things like that like I see with the Minnesota Vikings, maybe some personnel issues too. I think the Saints and the way they play and the opponents they could face in the playoffs, these are the types of teams that they could fare well against. And even though I think the Vikings are a very good team, physical on both sides of the ball, the teams that they're playing can exploit their weaknesses, I think, better than those opponents could exploit New Orleans' weaknesses.
Plus, Steve, the Saints already have that first-round bye, and they can use that time to rest some of their key players who have been battling injuries. Our insiders, Steve Weich, Vic Carucci, and Michael Lombardi.